For over 27 years, a group of intrepid paddlers explore the Delaware River and its tributaries during the third week of June. These river nomads, referred to as sojourners, paddle different sections of the Delaware River every year. The term sojourn means to stay for a temporary period of time in a place. For 7 or sometimes 8 days per year, paddlers of every age, race, and orientation come together to experience paddling on the last undammed river in the eastern United States. The Delaware River is divided into 4 sections: the upper, middle, lower, and tidal Delaware River. The Upper Delaware flows from the headwaters in upstate New York to Port Jervis, New York. Below Port Jervis, down to the Delaware Water Gap, is the Middle Delaware. And the Lower Delaware is the longest and most populated section of the river, stretching from the Delaware Water Gap down to Trenton, New Jersey. Everything below Trenton is the tidal section of the river. Every year, the Delaware River Sojourn spends a couple of days in each section of the river.
I like it because you see so many different parts of the river, from the very scenic wilderness on the north to down to the tidal regions. It's just a variety, and with all the support, it's always safe, it's always fun. We get too much to eat sometimes, but outside of that, it's all good.
Known for its excellent water quality and diverse populations of wildlife, unique natural areas and scenic vistas, and historic towns along its shores, the Delaware River is truly one of our greatest national treasures. Following this water trail provides opportunities to see eagles, hawks, heron, beavers, otters, black bear, red fox, deer, and many other animals in their natural habitats. While anyone can paddle the river on their own, the Delaware River Sojourn offers many advantages that help take the guesswork out of the trip. Kayak, food, safety team, shuttles, and camping locations are provided. All you need to do is bring your tent, trailer, or RV to sleep in, along with any other personal essentials or items to make the experience more enjoyable. The Sojourn offers catered meals, including vegetarian and gluten-free options. If you would like to bring your own boat to paddle, transportation is provided. Each section of the river has its own group of day planners who know their sections of the river extremely well. The days are planned to minimize travel, create a unique on-water experience, eat locally prepared meals, educate paddlers on each section of the river, and provide entertaining or educational evening programs.
After all the jack signs in the boxes.
Camping locations often include historic sites, state and national parks, private campgrounds, nature centers, and even museums on occasion. Local festivals and attractions are often incorporated into each day's plans. So, what is a typical day on the Delaware River Sojourn like? There's a comfortable flow to the day, referred to as sojourn time. Sojourn time is the pace that one encounters when the schedules ebb and flow due to nature, weather, or river conditions. As soon as the sun rises in the morning, the camp begins to stir. People check in with sojourn registration. After check-in, breakfast is served, and gear is prepared for the day's paddle. Paddlers are either bussed or make their way to the put-in location where their boats are ready and waiting on the shores of the Delaware River. After the morning announcements and the mandatory safety talk and tips for new paddlers, boats are prepared for launch. Participants gather on water around the put-in until all the boats are off the shore, and the lead boat's whistle signals the start of the day's trip. After a few hours of paddling, enjoying the scenic vistas of the river, the group stops at a predetermined lunch spot. If the location is accessible, hot food is brought in by local caterers, or if the spot is extremely remote, A boxed lunch is provided to each sojourner. During lunch, there's usually an educational or informational program highlighting the section of the river that is being paddled. Following lunch, boats are launched and the afternoon paddle begins. Each paddling day can range from 6 to 15 miles. As the boats reach the takeout location, gear is gathered, boats are readied for the next day, and sojourners make their way back to camp. And people relax or take a short hike until dinner is served. Dinner is followed by an evening program. Or just sitting around a campfire enjoying the camaraderie of people brought together by the common goal of enjoying, protecting, and conserving the Delaware River for future generations. At some point throughout the day, a River High Admiral Award may be presented to an individual or group in that section of the river who has provided exceptional service to improve quality, protect water or cultural resources, or educate the public on the importance of the Delaware River watershed. After all, the Delaware River provides drinking water to over 15 million people in New York City, Trenton, Philadelphia, and Wilmington. As the day winds down and quiet time in camp starts, sojourners get some much-needed rest. One feature that sets the Delaware River Sojourn apart is the National Canoe Safety Patrol, or the NCSP. The Safety Patrol helps new paddlers learn the skills necessary to stay safe on the water and make sure that all boaters wear properly fitting life vests. This makes the Sojourn a great trip for inexperienced paddlers who want to improve their skills. When you paddle on the Delaware River Sojourn and let your imagination wander the historic shores, you find yourself paddling alongside Lenape warriors, traveling between villages, past log rafts headed to Philadelphia to become mast for tall ships. Witness Revolutionary and Civil War battles taking place on the banks of the river, and see George Washington crossing the Delaware as the flowing waters carry you through time. The advantage of a sojourn trip like this is that you can paddle for just 1 or 2 days, or the entire trip. If you need to take a break from paddling for the day, there's always nearby trails to hike, attractions to visit, or you can simply enjoy a quiet day in camp. Each person's connection to the river is different, but the connection to the river is what each sojourner has in common. Being on the Delaware Sojourn is the same as being alive on this earth. We are only in a place for a limited amount of time, and we need to make the best of it. Always love, respect, and care for each other as much as possible. And at the end of the day, all you have is your boat, the river, and the people sharing your journey. For more information about the Delaware River Sojourn, visit DelawareRiverSojourn.com.
Are you looking to buy or sell a property in the Northern Poconos? Then your first and only call should be to Davis R. Chant Realtors.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Collins, President of Davis R. Chant Realtors.
And I'm Abby Pittenger-Claus, Vice President of Chant Realtors. And we're here at one of our lakefront listings on Lake Wallenpaupack.
Since 1964, Davis R. Chant Realtors has grown from 1 office in Milford to 5 offices throughout Pike and Wayne County. With more than 90 agents working 7 days a week, we have happily helped 50,000 families buy and sell their homes.
The Northern Poconos is a wonderful place to live. We have great schools and so many activities throughout every single season. If you're looking to buy a home, vacation home, or investment property, we'd be happy to help you every step of the way.
If you're looking to sell your home, give us at Davis R. Chant Realtors a call. Our agents put together a thoughtful but aggressive marketing plan to make sure that your home is put in front of your prospective buyer's eyes quickly.
For more information on the current real estate market, stop in at one of our 5 offices or visit our website at chantre.com.
Details matter. especially in your home. Do you love the bones or sentimental story behind an old piece of furniture, but can't see how it could possibly fit into your modern home? At Flipped, their mission is to reuse, reimagine, and create something beautiful and functional. Custom furniture design and refinishing, kitchen and bath cabinet painting, and a retail store featuring vintage decor, floral, gifts, hand-poured candles, and gourmet provisions. Flipped Furniture and Home wants to be part of your home because details matter.
Fort Delaware, located across the Delaware River from the Pocono Mountains in Narrowsburg, New York, is a replica of a mid-18th century frontier-era fort. In the 1750s, the entire Delaware River region, including the Pocono and Catskill Mountains, was a part of an untamed, wild frontier, rich with natural resources.
We're very fortunate, I think, in Sullivan County and in the Upper Delaware, including the portion of Pennsylvania, to have a really rich and colorful history, and it dates back to colonial times.
During early colonial times, settlers would leave the East Coast populated cities and build frontier settlements in hopes of finding their fortunes. The first settlement on the Upper Delaware region was known as Cushetunk.
So the Europeans have this 30-mile long settlement, and they set up little groups of homes all along this 30 miles, so it's fairly sparsely populated. And they begin to solicit other settlers to come. A lot going on in North America at the time. French and Indian War, tension between Native American tribes, and so the prudent thing for them to do would be to build a stockade to protect portions of the settlement, and people who didn't live within the stockade could be summoned in the event of trouble by using a signal cannon or something similar to that. And so around 1760, they actually build two fortifications. They're called the Lower Fort and the Upper Fort. One is near present-day Milanville, and one was up near Callicoon. The Lower Fort at present-day Milanville is what is approximated by the creation of Fort Delaware.
The Cushetunk Settlement thrived from the 1750s until the beginning of the Revolutionary War in 1775. Between 1775 and 1783, many of the settlers of Cushetunk who were loyal to Great Britain left to fight the war. Following the Revolutionary War, most of the loyalists that fought against the American Patriots moved to Canada, and although some of the Patriots returned to Cushetunk, the population of the settlement dwindled and was eventually abandoned, leaving the buildings and the lower fort to disintegrate.
There's very little that remains today, if not for places like Fort Delaware that have taken up the mantle of telling that story, of reminding us what it was once like here. Without that, probably the early history of the Upper Delaware would be largely forgotten, and that would be a great loss to us, I think, for a lot of reasons.
In the late 1950s, the Sullivan County historian at the time, James Burbank, saw an opportunity to bring the history of the Cushetunk Settlement to life. Automobile ownership was at an all-time high, and Americans were looking for interesting places to travel by car. So Burbank decided to build Fort Delaware to highlight the local frontier history and as a tourist attraction.
The parallel story to the colonial history of Fort Delaware is what I consider a fascinating tale of the 1950s. It's the story of James W. Burbank's creation of Fort Delaware as a replica, as a reproduction of this lower fort, and the research that he did into the story and how he framed the story of the Cushetunk Settlement with the influences and the backdrop of 1950s America, where the automobile has given new freedom to people to travel and to seek out theme parks and amusement parks and roadside attractions. America's swept over by the Davy Crockett craze, thanks to the Walt Disney television production with Fess Parker. And so when Burbank opens Fort Delaware in 1957, it's kind of the buckskin version of our colonial history. In fact, we have photos of him in the leather fringe outfit and the coonskin caps, and it was right out of the Davy Crockett series. But his attempt was to tell the colonial history of the area. What was it like? The very simple life of the common man. How did they live? What kind of skills did they need in order to survive? So when you go to Fort Delaware, even to this day, many years after Burbank has been long gone from the fort, many of his ideas survive there. So we have skills like candle making being demonstrated. There are actually 3 cabins constructed within the stockade, and the cabins are designed to tell the story of the evolution of the settlement. So the first cabin that you see is a very crude, small, primitive structure with a dirt floor, 1 room, a very simple fireplace. And then you could see as the settlers accumulated a little affluence, as they became more permanently settled here, the second cabin is a little bit more elaborate, a little larger, has a separate sleeping loft, a little bit more elaborate fireplace, a wooden floor. And then the third cabin is even larger yet, with a very elaborate hearth, with a cooking oven, couple of different sleeping quarters, actually glass in the windows. So it's a much different type of setup. And again, the idea is to tell the story of how the settlement evolved.
Fort Delaware was originally built here in 1957 to highlight the lives of people from the Cushetunk Settlement that lived here between 1755 and 1785. As you come in, you'll come in through the visitor center. There's the gift shop. There's some of that Burbank ephemera in there. There's the diorama of his original concept fort that's in there. But then as you come in, you'll see our heirloom garden. You'll see the 3 cabins that are on the inside here. And the 3 cabins, we have them set up so that they represent 3 decades. So the first cabin, being the Skinner cabin, represents the 1750s when the original settlers came. The second cabin is the 1760s, where you see an increase in material goods and wealth. And then the 1770s cabin, the final cabin, kind of starts to look into more of the influx of ideas, especially revolving around the Revolution. Moving on from there, we would go to the blacksmith shop, and then from there we would move on to either a cooking demonstration. So you'd have outdoor cooking, including our bread oven, and then from there to weaving and woodworking. Finally wrapping it up with the blockhouse on the far end, which is basically the defensive position. The whole purpose of a stockaded fort or a blockhouse was defense.
Fort Delaware consists of several buildings within the stockade, with reenactors bringing the 18th century alive. The mission of Fort Delaware is telling the stories of the Upper Delaware region and preserving local history.
I think history is becoming less and less important. It doesn't get the emphasis in school that it once did. And so it becomes more important for public historians like myself and lots of volunteers who have taken up the mantle of telling these stories to do just that. We need to fill in that gap. And so places like Fort Delaware, in addition to being great places of entertainment, tourist attractions and places where kids can go and have fun, it can teach very valuable lessons, not just about the skills that were necessary for survival. How did you make tools? How did you grow food? How did you make candles for light? Just how did you live in general? But also the story behind the history. What brought people here? The drive to own land, the importance of the river, the importance of timber, and how those extractive industries led to the growth of these settlements and the affluence of the settlers that kept them in place. What happened during the war? What happened to the people during the war and in the aftermath of the war? These are all great stories, and they're stories that exist on many different levels. And I think people who are coming to Fort Delaware get to learn history on several levels depending on their level of interest. Another story we tell at Fort Delaware is the story of the public house and the role that that played in the settlement. How the tavern, in addition to being a place where people came to to have fun and to entertain themselves, how it becomes a place where news is disseminated, how it becomes a place where governmental transactions take place. If you had a town hall meeting, it's held in the tavern, in the public house. Kids would go to school in the public house. Certainly not every single day, but a few days a month they'd gather there for lessons because it was critically important, believe it or not, for kids to learn to read and write, if nothing else. It also was where church services would have been held. So we tell the story of the public house. That's a great part of the lesson there. Why did you have an armory? Why did you have communal weapons? Why was the stockade constructed in the first place? These are all stories that are important to know, to understand what life was like for our ancestors and to understand from where it was that we came.
Keeping history alive and educating future generations is one of the most important reasons to support places like Fort Delaware, where people can experience historically accurate, living history.
To support Fort Delaware, you need to support the Delaware Company. That's the actual entity that operates the fort. The Delaware Company is a nonprofit history education group. We were formed back in 2012, so we've been in existence for 10 years now. Every contribution that you make financially is tax deductible, and we welcome financial contributions. You can either mail us a check or you can go on our website, thedelawarecompany.org. There's a donate button, and you can either donate a single donation or you can make it a monthly or yearly donation that will repeat itself. If you wanted to mail a check, our mailing address is the Delaware Company, Post Office Box 88 in Barryville, New York, 12719. We also need volunteers. Just contact us. Go on the website. There's a contact button there. We'd love to hear from you. We're only able to accomplish what we can accomplish with our partners. So we need the support of people as much as we can get it.
The Sterling Business and Technology Park is currently divided into 23 lots ranging in size from 3 to 30 acres. Each lot in the park is KOZ certified for companies that qualify. The Sterling Business and Technology Park is perfectly located just off Exit 17 on Interstate 84 in northeastern Pennsylvania, just under 2 hours from New York City. If you would like to explore locating your business at the Sterling Business and Technology Park, visit sterlingbusinesspark.com.
Experience rejuvenation inside and out with Northwoods Aesthetics and Wellness. Be on top of your game with our IV hydration and IV nutrition services, loaded with essential amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and powerful antioxidants for optimal health and well-being. Craving for that youthful glow? Our Botox and lip filler services are sure to turn back the clock. Embrace wellness. Embrace life at Northwoods Aesthetics and Wellness. Breathe new life into your wellness journey.
As a preserve, research station, and education center, Lacawac's first decades were a joyous struggle. We achieved a great deal with scores of researchers, thousands of students, and tens of thousands of visitors coming here to experience a natural and historical wonder. Though Lacawac had major achievements, we grew in size, made our way into the annals of scientific research, and became a cherished place for the local community. The ends never met. We survived year to year on a shoestring. At the turn of this century, though, our efforts started to be recognized. One of the pivotal events in the early 2000s was a National Science Foundation grant to build a high-grade field lab at our visitor center. This happened in conjunction with Lacawac becoming a hub of scientific partnership with Miami University of Ohio. We hired our first scientific director in 2012 and built a consortium of university researchers interested in exploring freshwater biology with an emphasis on the effects of climate change on our environment. Part of this work is known as PLEON, the Pocono Lakes Ecological Observation Network, that monitors more than 20 lakes in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Our science program has garnered the support of the National Science Foundation, the Dr. Susan S. Killam Endowment Fund, Miami University of Ohio, Drexel University, and the Academy of Natural Sciences. Meanwhile, our educational program for K-12 students has expanded, including an educational staff that reaches out to local schools and brings students to lacawac for field experiences. We now offer summer day camps and a week-long residential conservation leadership academy. As part of our educational effort, and with the help of the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and the contributions of the Chatlos and Rogner Charitable Trust, and other donors, we have been able to acquire the former home of Arthur and Isabel Watrous and convert it into an educational center at the heart of lacawac. Recognizing that research and education can't happen without some less glamorous basic maintenance, the William E. Chatlos Foundation recently provided an ongoing grant to help us with our facilities, including replacing roofs and upgrading bathrooms for people with disabilities. Lacawac has also been asked to help protect natural areas on properties away from the sanctuary, including 87 acres along the Lackawaxen River in Kimball's, the Mark and Courtney Peterson Nature Reserve. It adds up. Since 2015, lacawac has raised $2.2 million in grant funding and now has more than 50 business members who support our mission. We host 2,500 school students with top-notch environmental education programs annually, and more than 5,000 other visitors come to walk our 9 miles of trails each year. We're extremely proud of our achievements over our first 6 decades, but there's always more to do. As always, preserving our 120-year-old lodge and the natural wonder of lacawac is a large task. Our plans for the future include providing better facilities for scientists, students, and the community. I'm Chad Reed Watrous, and my family is very proud of what our users and supporters have achieved so far at lacawac. But there's a lot more to come. We hope you'll come and visit and see our work in progress.
The Pocono Mountains is home to some of the best music festivals in the Northeast. Don't miss the 2024 Roots and Rhythm Festival in Honesdale on June 15th, featuring Slam Allen, Deke Dickerson, and the Whippersnappers, and a host of many more acts on the main stage. During the same weekend, head over to the Milford Music Festival, with musicians performing all over town on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For more information, visit HonesdaleRootsandRhythm.com and MilfordPA.us. We'll see you there. Tune in to Wally Life every Monday at 9 p.m. on Blue Ridge Communications Channel 13 for the latest in life around Lake Wallenpaupack.